So welcome everyone for this talk show, and it's going to be very interesting because the topic is our future, and it's something that is related to our future, your future, and to the future of the coming generation. Why we say it's a future? Because when you look at the state of Tripura, we know that Tripura, the original inhabitants or the indigenous people of Tripura are now just about 31% in their own state. About 68 to 70% are outsiders now. And they have the voting rights. Since they have the voting rights, now most of the policy making are done by what they want, how they want it to be done. But thankfully, let's say Nagaland has about 17 lakhs still Nagas and the indigenous people. And about 250,000 people are outsiders, the non-Nagas. But most of us, what we would think is, 199% of the people in Nagaland are Nagas or the indigenous people. That's not the case anymore. So I'm not just scaring you, but just for the fact that without regulation, without any policy, human beings cannot just exist like that. There has to be regulation, there has to be policy. For that matter, for us and for the state of Nagaland, the ILB inner line permit is given freely by the central government without even asking for it. Now, I want to take you through to the state of Manipur. The hill area of Manipur, there is ILB. But in the valley, there is no ILB system. So people sacrifice their life to get ILB implemented in the last few years. But here, Nagaland state is given free ILB since 1972 without even asking for it. You don't have to go through so much. Just by a presidential order, it was given to the Nagaland state in 1972. So before 1972, there was no ILB, although the state got its statehood in 1963. Now there is ILB in Nagaland in place, but people are not interested in applying this or implementing this ILB. And ILB is something that is given to the people, to the state, by the Bengal Eastern Frontier Regulation Act of 1873, which was made by the British. So those days, British saw the Nagas and the other tribal areas as indigenous tribal, primitive people. Like if you imagine about the tribals that you find in the Amazon forest, they have no connection to the world much. They are uneducated, illiterate. So today's discussion is going to be very interesting because I want to ask them a question also. Do we really need ILB when we are so developed? Are we still primitive that we need ILB is something that they are going to answer. And how can ILB deal with the illegal immigration? And how these two are different from each other, right? Those are very, very important things to really look into. So I'm really glad they all have come. And also most importantly, thanks to all of you for coming here just to give us the emotional support that we also care for this issue. How sincere is the state government in dealing with ILB as far as your observation is concerned? And since you have been working against the influx of the illegal immigrants, so it'll be great to know your opinion and your thoughts on this. I wouldn't call out names, so just pick up the mic. Don't give the mic back on that table. Just keep on holding, and let's have that kind of a very interactive moment.
Hello, welcome to eSpace, a space for events, conference, meetings, and any kind of collaboration opportunities. A state-of-the-art conference that can accommodate 100 to 120 people. That includes your projector, Wi-Fi, and any kind of facilities that is needed for a successful event. eSpace also have a cafe, the state-of-art including excellent food. This is an initiation of Advertisement School of Business supported by SIDBI to create a space for young people to come and enjoy themselves at unbeatable prices. We are located in Duncan Busti, Dimapur. We look forward to host more events with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Lungleng, once again for this wonderful platform. And to come straight to your question, I just want to say this. ILP is a very powerful weapon. As Mr. Lungleng has already stated. But we Nagas don't seem to understand the kind of weapon we have. If this ILP can be implemented in totality and with sincerity, I'm telling you, Nagaland will have no problem of illegal immigration, because if we go back to 1963, and if you look at the electoral roll or the census, whatever, you will find that the non-tribal indigenous inhabitants of Nagaland, their population was hardly 3 to 4,000. That is also on the higher side. In fact, the Muslim population was around 600. But today, we haven't been implementing ILP in any sense of the term. There's no implementation. He's saying that the non-local population would be around 2,20,000. I would say that it's more than 5 lakhs. So we have unabated influx of illegal immigrants into the state, and through Nagaland, they're also going to Manipur. And Nagaland is a soft target. Basically, this is an illegal immigration is a undeclared war against the Nagas. And we Nagas are sleeping, our politicians are sleeping, young people are concerned. And I appreciate the NSF and the DNSU for taking up this issue. It's not a thing. This is in fact, they are taking up a very dangerous issue. They have been getting death threats. And many Nagas themselves will oppose these people. See, this is the problem with illegal immigration in Nagaland. And unless we Nagas wake up, we'll become slaves in our land. Our children will become slaves. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lungleng, for this beautiful platform. My greetings to two of the panelists and the audience, the viewers. Well, on the part of the state government, ever since the implementation started, I think government is not sincere enough to actually authenticate and to ensure that ILP is strictly implemented in all the districts. Though Dimapur was implemented in 2019 and subsequently it was suspended in 2023, in the rest of the districts which have been implemented all these years, they have not been sincere enough to ensure that ILP is strictly monitored, and which is why we have the student bodies all over the districts that authenticates and verifies the illegal immigrants in the districts. And the government of the day should be competent enough, and we need a strong political will today to ensure that the Bengal Eastern Frontier Regulation 1873 benefits should be utilized and implemented by the state government.
Hello. Thank you for the time. Before starting, I would just like to highlight about the ILP, how ILP was formed, so that for the convenience and to educate the public. The genesis of how the ILP came into existence is dated back to the history of 1873, Bengal Eastern Frontier Act. It was the first administrative policy of the British. It was enforced by them to protect and safeguard the indigenous Naga inhabitants from both Indians and foreigners. They will have to obtain permit to pass or reside in an area covered by the BEFR, Bengal Eastern Frontier Act. So after the independence, India, they have adopted this regulation, this act, which is now called ILP. So people might be confused. Bengal Eastern Frontier Act and what is it, ILP and all. So the other name of Bengal Eastern Frontier Act, which is now called ILP, it was adopted by the Indian government to protect and safeguard the minority, the tribal people from the most advanced people in many ways. Now coming back to the sincerity or the implementation of the government, ILP. See, we don't have to stress much on how the government is sincere. You just walk out of this hall and go down and ask around the people about the ILP. Nobody knows it. Of course, they do know what is ILP, but they don't have any permit. Now they say that they have this online ILP and such thing. Now, if you really look how this ILP is implemented, if we talk about the practicality of the ILP, people are booking flight ticket. Do they have an option of ILP in that flight ticket? People are booking train ticket online. Do they give an option of this ILP? No. They're just coming. They're just coming through airways and rail tracks and roadways. Now look at the check gate. Are they checking any ILP? Now, to talk about the sincerity of our government, see, it's a universal truth, and everybody knows that we, as a Naga, we also travel around our neighboring state. You go to Mizoram, they ask for our ILP. You go to Arunachal, you will know how strict they are. They will ask for our, government ID card. Then they will try to identify us. They will ask for ILP permit. Then they will ask the purpose of visiting Arunachal and how long we are staying. Then they issue us ILP, and we can only able to stay for the duration that is mentioned in the ILP. And here in Nagaland, people will just, from Assam, they can just come here in Dimapur without ILP. They can either do, they can do business, 10 to 20 years people are doing here business without any ILP. Now, just saying that there is an ILP online and people are not applying, that does not justify. Oh, okay, there is an online ILP, online system about ILP implementation. Then it is also the duty of the administrative to check through the rail station, and airport. Yeah.
Okay. I think before we go into detail of other states and all, in the context of Dimapur, since you have also a lot of experience in checking the illegal immigrants, how do you really check the illegal immigrants entering Dimapur? Suppose I would like to hypothetically put you in the position of a government, because checking just at the railway station is not enough. Checking on the road is not enough, because there's no such thing as boundary wall or any fencing that is done. So anyone who is ready to work can work from Assam to Dimapur to Nagaland anytime, any day, although the government is very serious about this. So don't you think the government has also limitations to implement this effectively? Or what is your thought on that, since you have been actively working on this, and definitely you can also share. What do we do about that?
Okay. See, we have a latest technology. See, if the government is really sincere, they can, computerize the ILP to all the visitors coming to Nagaland. We can have this QR code system where anybody, even the council chairman, student organization, administration, or the police can just scan that QR code and check their ILP PDF and check their validity. Or they can even give a directive to the town council. Now we have DMC, town councils, and we have council, chairmen, colony councils and ward councils. They can give a directive to them not to issue a PRC. Or maybe when they are checking in the gate, if they are sincere, they can ask for the authenticated, copies of NRC from Assam. It's a national registered citizen card. So, and to check the, claims of those illegal immigrants claiming to be from Assam.
Okay, to supplement my friend, see, technically every non-local in Dimapur is a legal immigrant. Why am I saying this? Because The moment you cross the border from Bangladesh into Assam, you can catch hold of various documents, say Aadhaar card or like a ration card or any legal documents which makes you or which identifies you as an Indian citizen. So those people who are coming to Dimapur and Nagaland as such, they are more or less Indian citizens. So how do you differentiate between so the government is in no position to say that he is an illegal immigrant and he's a legal immigrant at this juncture. So that is something which we need to put our heads together. Some few years back, if I'm not mistaken, the district administration of Dimapur, they identified 3 districts in Assam. Say Karimganj, Hailakandi, and one district, I don't remember. So they blacklisted these districts. So anybody coming from these districts will not be issued ILP. And theoretically, they cannot enter Nagaland. So what I'm trying to say is, since we have no mechanism to determine who is an illegal immigrant, the government needs to ensure that ILB is enforced properly in the state. And for this, we need to have a proper police force solely tasked with the identification of illegal immigrants or ILB defaulters in the state. And for that, we need a separate directorate, separate department. Right now, what we have is a small cell in the home department, which is not enough, meant by 5-6 people. We need at least 1,000 police force and a proper department to check the ILB mechanism. That is number one. Number two, I would say that somebody who is issued an ILB in Dimapur, for instance, with that permit, he's getting a trade license, which is illegal, by the way. With that permit, you cannot, avail trade license. Who should be given ILP? Tourists, manual laborers, skilled laborers, unskilled laborers. They come into the state, they will stay for 1, 2 months, 3 months. They'll work in the construction industry or building industry, whatever. And after the job is done, they'll go back. ILB is not a permit for them to, avail driver's license nor, trade license. And this is what we have been doing for the last 40, 50 years. So naturally, every time the ILB is renewed, and for the next 30, 40 years, for the last 30, 40 years, they've been staying here by renewing the ILB. See, this is a complete farce. Number 3 point is, if you stay in one particular place for 6 months, then you are eligible to be registered in the electoral roll of the state. So ILP cannot be issued for a continuous stretch of time, which is 6 months. It has to be 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. And then after that, it has to be renewed. Things like that. So what is happening in Nagaland is that ILB has been randomly issued to everybody who seeks ILP. So tomorrow, if we say that 1 lakh people from Assam and elsewhere, they need to come to Dimapur, they will apply for ILP and they'll be given. And this 1 lakh people will come to Dimapur, and then they'll be allowed to stay freely and carry out the businesses through trade license and driver's license. See, this cannot be allowed. So this is a very serious issue which the government of the day should ponder and think. I mean, this discussion is wonderful, by the way.
That's a wonderful insight. I mean, most of us did not know that things are happening like that in the background, right? So thanks for sharing that. Any quick points?
Well, with regard to the question raised, the state government and the implementing agencies has miserably failed till today. And I would say that to put a check to these illegal immigrants, we need inner line permit commission. We need inner line permit commission so as to make autonomous decisions. And from time to time, they need to frame regulations as to how to put a check on these illegal immigrants. If that is not put in place, 30, 40 years from now on, we will be minority in our own land, to be honest. And the current structure, like our friend has clearly stated, they are not controlling they are not making use of the inner line permit that is in force, but they are just implementing for the sake of implementation. Let us be very honest today. So the government needs to come to a decision where a strong political commitment is required and inner line commission should be constituted. It is of the fact that many committees and commissions have submitted the recommendation to the state government about the inner line permit regulations, whereas the state government is not sincere enough to protect its own citizens because today they are the government. But like I've clearly stated, 4 or 5 decades from now on, we're going to be minority in our own land. So this is to protect the indigenous Nagas of our state. Thank you.
Wonderful. So the bottom line is now that we cannot stop people entering the state because there is no such thing as border or fencing or, people will come anyway. But what's important, as far as I understand from your sharings, what's important is there should be a mechanism where they can be detected, right? And if they don't fit into that mechanism, either they should be deported or they should be brought into some sort of a punishment or something, action by the law. So when you look at Assam is also, NRC is also exactly doing like this. So now for us, we need to be very clear that ILP is not just for illegal immigrants. It is even for legal immigrants, like the Indian citizens themselves. So as per Nagaland ILB regulation, rules, I think the tribals from Arunachal, Assam, Manipur can visit Nagaland freely. There's no need for ILB. But the non-tribals are required to do, they need to really acquire the ILB before visiting the states. Now we all know, and you have shared that the state government is not interested at all. There must be a reason. Don't they care for their own family? Or are they not aware of what's happening in the ground? I'm sure they are. So from your observation and from your experience working with people and being in this issue for quite some time, why do you think a government is not interested or not showing any interest in the ILB has not been implemented well? I'll give you an example of Arunachal Pradesh. It's 100% implemented all over state. Even the NSU president has mentioned that. Either you are tribal or not, if you go there, they will ask for ILB. But in Nagaland state, it's not the case. But that's a different issue. But why the state government has been very hesitant to implement at least in these 3 districts, or maybe to implement effectively in all other districts? Why it has not been effective? What is something that they're very hesitant to carry out? It can be a speculation. You can just shed some light.
Well, that question should be raised to the state government because they don't give us a definite answer as to why there has been a struggle implementing ILP, particularly in Dimapur district. Because for the past 4 years, it was implemented. Subsequently, again, it was suspended. So there was no difficulties in these 4 years. So on what grounds did they suspend it? That is the best reason known to them. Thank you.
You see, even we, Nagas of Nagaland, if you want to go to the Naga areas of Manipur, we are still asked our ILP, even if you are Nagas. See, so we don't mind the authority, the government of Manipur asking for the ILP permit, and the other non-locals should also, they should not have any problem to produce the required documents that or to, obtain the permit from the concerned authorities. Now the problem with the government of Nagaland, I don't understand why. There might be a pressure from the central government, or that I don't know. But I'm pretty sure if the government of Nagaland is getting pressure from the central, I'm not sure, but I'm just saying, in case, even if they are getting pressure, I'm pretty sure the Arunachalis, the Manipur, they have also got pressure from the central government. We never know. But they have implemented. And I don't understand why the government of Nagaland is so weak to implement this ILP. And the last meeting, all the COCs came and they gave an assurance and they support the movement. They support NSF and DNSU, and they say that they will give full cooperation to the government of Nagaland if they will implement ILP. Now the implementation of ILP, people need to really understand, what will be the consequences in the next, 20 to 30 years. You see, Assam has 12% of tribals, and the rest is history. We don't want to talk about it. Non-tribals. Arunachal, we have 69, and 31 is 69 tribal, and 31 is non-tribal. Now you go to Mizoram, the most strict ILP implementation, 94% is tribals, and 6% is non-locals. Then comes Meghalaya, 86%. Then the rest is non-locals. Manipur is 41%, and Tripura was 64% in the year 1874, but became only 28% by 1981. So this is one of the largest demographical change ever in the history of the country, where the indigenous inhabitants were reduced to minority today in Tripura. So the Nagas will face the same situation, face the same problem if illegal immigrants are not regulated effectively. Yeah.
Good points.
Okay. In 2019, as my friend has put it, Dimapur was brought under the coverage of ILP regime. And then suddenly and very quietly, last year in the month of June, that is 2023, the government withdrew the ILP coverage over Dimapur and Niuland and Chumukedima. So, I just want to speculate. In 1963, when the ILP was first implemented in Dimapur in 2019, 1963 was a cutoff date. But now, the government has notified the implementation of ILP over the 3 districts. Right now, they've issued 2 cutoff dates, 1963 and 1979. So, what is the logic behind this? The government is saying that those people who come after 1963 and before 1979, they can become permanent residents, they can avail permanent residency certificate, and the government is also saying that they will be given domicile status. So what is this domicile status? If you come between 1963 and 1979, a non-local, being given domicile status means that you can buy land in Nagaland. Okay. That is again very dangerous. According to the government's notification 1977, only an indigenous person can buy land in Nagaland. The Nagaland Land Regulation Act 1978 states that only an indigenous person can buy land in Nagaland. If we go by the letter and spirit of this Nagaland Land Regulation Act 1978, all the properties of the non-locals who came after 1963, their properties can be seized and they can become landless because they have violated the law of the land. But so far, the government hasn't implemented this law in letter and in spirit, and therefore we see non-locals on a buying spree. They own so many properties in Dimapur especially. So in order to justify the buying of these lands, the government has put forward a new cutoff date, which is 1979. See, there's a big conspiracy here. And therefore, I think because of this reason, the government withdrew the ILP notification over Dimapur in 2023, so as to justify the buying of these lands by these non-locals.
Because if it is not, then that will conflict with the existing Nagaland state law. Like you said, the Land Regulation Act something, right? That's a wonderful information. I think, I was not personally aware of that, and I would like to read up more on that as well. So now it has come to a point that there are non-locals, which are not Nagas, settled in Dimapur. Now Dimapur is also a very contentious area, as in, it was originally, some people say, originally not the land of the Nagas. That's not an indigenous land owned by the Nagas. So that's also kind of becoming difficult for people to define. Then how do bringing ILB in Dimapur justify itself when it's not originally owned by the Nagas? So they are able to buy land and purchase land in Dimapur, but not in any other districts? Or are they even buying lands in other districts as well? Just a quick.
Let me answer that. Okay. In 1979, the government of Nagaland declared Dimapur area as a tribal belt. Okay, so through this notification, the government of Nagaland legitimized its claim over Dimapur area. That's number one. Number two, in 1839, when the British officer Lieutenant Grange, he came to Dimapur. When he discovered Dimapur for the first time in 300 years, there was not a single soul in Dimapur area, except for a few Kachari villages here and there. And this Dimapur area was the hunting ground of the Angamis. And they used to, go to Haflong and Nagon, and they used to go for expeditions in those areas to look for slaves. They were dealing in slave trade, and they were marauding, and then doing things like that, and headhunting. So basically, the Nagas have a theoretical claim over this area because this Dimapur area was the hunting ground of the Angamis. And it was, a thick jungle. According to this British officer, it was a very thick jungle. And so there were no inhabitants. And therefore, the British made this their center and introduced railway line in Dimapur. And that is how the non-locals, they started coming from, Rajasthan and, UP. In fact, if you understand, the first pata holder of Dimapur town was a Muslim. And he was an Indian Muslim. Not a Mia Muslim, but an Indian Muslim. The first pata holder. And their family still resides in Dimapur. And their pata is pata number 1. So this is how these outsiders came to Dimapur and developed Dimapur. So it doesn't mean that, Dimapur belongs to these people and it doesn't belong to Nagas. No.
Okay, and do you have any response, or we can jump to the next conversation? Okay, now, so we understand Dimapur as a very kind of area that is different from the rest of our own hometowns and these respective districts. So it's a little bit confusing, but thanks for sharing your opinion on that. That would really make us clear on many things. And I think we really need to do our homework as well and read up more on how Dimapur came into being and how it is justified to claim as the land of the Nagas. May not be from the beginning, but how do the Nagas legitimize their ownership of Dimapur as much as the non-locals have legitimized Dimapur as their own? So I don't think you all mean that the existing people who are not Nagas and who have migrated from other parts of the country, the non-Nagas, the non-tribals, I don't believe that you are voting for their removal, or let's say, I don't think you're voicing out that they should be deported from Dimapur, right? At least I want to be very clear on that.
It's not legally possible.
Yeah, it's not possible, and you're not vouching for that as well. So what you're vouching for is, let's not add more problems to this. Let's make it like a cutoff line from here, and now from now on, let's start checking whoever comes to this state. And as far as I understand, I think that's your point, right? You don't want to make it worse.
Yes.
Yeah. Either it is the legal or the illegal immigrants. Are you saying that?
Correct.
Yeah, you can just respond quickly to that thought as well.
Definitely, I would agree to what you said. And inner line permit should not be a convenience permit to stay in Nagaland for the rest of your life. The current regulation permits them to renew and renew and renew. There should be a time frame, there should be a certain specific period of years for the renewal so that we can put an end to these illegal immigrants. We understand that we have so many migrant workers from outside the state that we still construct with the help of these people. But we also need to accept that today we are needing these people, but tomorrow they're going to overpower us. So Nagas needs to develop work culture, and government needs to create more skill development centers in the district so that tomorrow we will be able to cultivate and construct in our own land.
I mean, that means, in other words, we need to be, independent of others when it comes to work. And when you see the roads, I mean, I come from Kohima today. People who are clearing the road, I hardly see any Nagas. It's all non-locals. And probably they could be, not the legal migrants as well. So in such a dire need of laborers and skilled workers, or let's say the gig workers, how do we survive? How do the people of Nagaland survive when there's a very limited restriction of laborers entering into the state of Nagaland? How do you think we should tackle this?
Well, to put a check to these migrant workers, there should be a limited number of laborers allotted by the regulations so that the contractor or whoever concerned should ensure that after the work is done, these people should be deported back to where they came from. So there should not be a huge number like 100. Maximum can be 50 for construction work. So government needs to ensure that this regulation is in effect, or else they can. Now the current process is like more than 100 people will come, and this they don't go back and they go for other works again. So they should, in order to put a check, there should be limitations in the migrant workers that is brought from other states. Thank you.
You see, Nagas have become very dependent on outsiders, from electrician to plumber, to drainage, to cultivating, cultivation and road construction, building construction. So the government of Nagaland, and especially we are also responsible as a student organization. We should also come up with a certain, seminars, or organize the seminars, educate our people. See, Nagas, we the Nagas are educated without skills. So the government of Nagaland should not only focus on education, but should focus more on skill development also. So, skill development is very much important. Education, your degree without skill is useless. Not only that, okay, educated youngsters don't want to do a plumber's job or electrician job. But at least there are class 8 dropouts, class 10 dropouts, class 12 dropouts who are willing to do such kind of works. But they are not trained that way. They don't know how to do those work. So if skill training can be given to them, if I call up an electrician and he came and do this electrician works, he charged 1,500 to 2,000 for an hour, maximum 2 hours. That also we have to request them. They will say like, oh, I have so many work, I can't come. I have to work. So they are booked by everyone, and we call them today, they come day after tomorrow, which means in a day they are earning 10 to 15,000. See, electrician, plumbers, all these things. So the skill development, if training, giving skill training to younger people is very much important, because it helps them to succeed in their academic career, and also it reduces the problem of unemployment, and address the socio-economic and environmental challenges, improvise the quality of life, and most of all, it's bridging the gap between education and work. So we should start training. We have tried, DNSU, we have made a project to give free skill development to all, at least targeting 300 students, and drop out 1,000 students of dropout. So we went to a department, concerned department, and seek for government help so that we can give free training to all the people, to youngsters, dropouts, and people in schools and all. It's a free training. But the government said there is no money. Now, when the government is not sincere to, train the youngsters, the skill training is not given, how are we supposed to survive? So it's a long fight. We have to consistently fight this thing. The government should also focus. I don't understand why the government, just help to implement the ILP for an MSEC and practically does not work. Yeah.
I think there are many thoughts springing out now as we tackle more on the issue. But I think before we start taking questions from the audience, let's just see. Now, the government has come up with the implementation of ILP. I think, kudos to all the students, leaders. I mean, it's because of your efforts and voices of political activists like Mr. Choil Naga that government has now taken, at least to this point, taken seriously and have announced that they will implement ILP in these 3 districts, Dimapur, Niuland, and Chumukedima. How satisfied are you all to this, and what do you foresee, and what is the way forward? Because implementation of ILP is not also going to be easy on the pockets of the state government, because it's going to cost them a lot of resources as well, right? And minds and energy and everything. So since they have come up with the implementation announcement, what is your assessment and what is the way forward? And then we can start taking questions from the audience.
Actually, we, under the leadership of Sir Medovi, NSF President, the NSF we and the NSU and NSF have been, keeping in touch, and we are working out this issue, fighting for this issue collectively, sharing the same responsibilities. And at one time we were happy, actually, when this implementation was announced. But at the same time, we are scared that if, I rather choose, implementation, ILP implementation or non-implementation. The government have implemented ILP. The implementation of that ILP is to protect and safeguard the Nagas or to protect the outsiders. Now we are confused now. And we are very much worried. So it's not that we are going to give up. As long as I'm the president of Dimapur Naga Students Union and the NSF are there, we will consistently fight. We will make sure that this new implementation is really for the well-being of the Nagas and not to protect the outsiders. Yeah.
This is a good perspective. Things can be implemented, but how they implement matters, right? Because at the end of the day, it might end up benefiting the Nagas or the non-Nagas. So your point is, this implementation should be for the Nagas, and it should benefit the Nagas as a whole. That's what you're saying. I mean, that's a good perspective.
Well, as the new team took over in August 2023, under the leadership of our president, we have been sincere enough to write to the government about revoking the suspension in the Dimapur district. So we have written on 4 several occasions, and we have also demonstrated on February 28 and 29, and the government was still sleeping. So after a gap of so many months, the NSF served an ultimatum on 5th of September, stating that if you do not implement, we will take our own course of action. So before the 14 days of expiry was completed, the state government took a decision. But the points that they have drafted, the new inner line permit regulation that they have re-amended, it is suspicious. To be honest, definitely the Federation will look into the matter. We were waiting for the right definite regulation to be out by the government. Yes, and we will definitely look into the matter, because time and again, this has been an ongoing issue for the NSF, and we cannot let the government be diplomatic enough to use the ILP for their own benefits. So we will ensure that we will review the inner line permit regulation that has been passed by the cabinet. Thank you.
Okay. It's a little bit technical. The Naga tribes and the Kukis and the Kacharis and the Garos and those non-locals who came before 1963, they are exempted from the ILB regime. For those people who came between 1963 and 1979, as per the government, they are also exempted from the ILB regime through the issuance of permanent residency certificates. Okay. Now, if they are given domicile status, they can buy land. Theoretically, all over Nagaland.
That means they become indigenous,
They become indigenous,
Okay.
just like us.
just like you.
So that cannot be allowed. They cannot be given domicile status. That cannot be allowed. Now, for those people who came after 1979, they will not be given permanent residency certificate, and they cannot be granted, domicile status, which means they cannot buy land, and they are subject to the ILB regime. So there are three categories here. So for those people who came after 1979, they can be checked. Most of these non-locals, immigrants, they came after 1979. I'm sure around 80%. So these people, they have established themselves in Dimapur and elsewhere. They have bought houses, they have bought lands, they are into business. And so these people can be subject to ILB regime. And once the ILB is strictly implemented, they will have to leave the state. Because with ILP, they're going to run business. It's just like this student visa. You go to England with a student visa, you cannot work full-time, you can only work part-time, you cannot vote, you cannot become a citizen, you cannot buy properties, and after a certain time, you have to come back to India. So ILP is something like that. And so if this is strictly implemented, these people will have to abide by the ILB regime. And but my question is, does the government have the willpower? Does it have the courage? Because it looks like the government is under the control of some entity, some non-local organizations in Dimapur. That's a fact. So does it have the courage? See, anyway, Dimapur is controlled by other people, outsiders. So they have the money power, and therefore they can control the government. We all know that. It needs no explanation. So what I'm saying is, I subscribe to the idea put forward by my NSF friend, the formation of ILP commission or a task force. See, this task force will identify each and every person in Dimapur who should be having an ILP and who should not be having an ILP. For example, especially among the non-locals. Those people who fall under the category of indigenous, those people who fall under the category of domicile, those people who fall under the category of non-domicile, these three categories, among the non-locals, this task force should identify and take appropriate measures. See, Bano Commission is already Bano Commission already submitted a report, but Bano Commission's submission finding was not extensive. It only pertained to domicile status and indigenous status. So in that domicile status, even the Gorkhas are there, for example, who came during the British time as soldiers. So, and in that ILB commission, I strongly suggest that the NSF and the DNSU should be there. And if the government is really serious about ILP, then they have to set up this commission within no time. So once this commission is set up, then they can identify, why is this person having a driver license? Why is this person having a birth certificate when he is not entitled to? Why is this person having a trade license when he is not entitled to start a business? They are supposed to be passers-by, like coming from outside, work in Nagaland and go back within 1 month, 2 months. But since 1979, they have been staying for the last 40 years, which cannot be allowed. So, is this government sincere? Does it have the courage? I really don't think so. So, what is the alternative? The Naga people should rise up as one. We should be solidly behind the NSF and the student bodies, and irrespective of our tribal affiliations and identity and whatever, I think we should come together as one and pressure the government. Until unless we can pressure the government of the day will not do anything.
Well, thanks for sharing such strong points and informations. Can we take some questions from audience? Will you have any questions?
Hello, hello. Good evening, everyone. To shed more light in regard with PRC and domicile. So PRC is obtained in a village level. Domicile is obtained in an urban level. So according to me, if we start providing domicile and PRC to the non-locals, is it not a violation to Article 371A? That is my question.
I really don't know whether this violates Article 371A or not. But definitely the village authorities, they have the power to issue PRC in the villages. That is for sure. Now, it depends on the village council, for instance, to issue PRC or not. But if we legalize it through government notification and through legislations, definitely anybody can avail PRC and domicile status, irrespective of the fact whether he stays in the village or in the urban area. Because once the government decides to give domicile status, the government will, check the records of the person, like his birth certificate, his ration card, his house tax, between the years 1963 and 1979. And once he has all the relevant documents, he is automatically granted domicile status and PRC.
You can further ask questions related to that if you have. Or if you're not satisfied, you can give your own thoughts as well.
Again, in regard with the ILB, I am here as an audience. I'm from a press, but I'm a big fan of yours, sir. So I'm a fan of them also, so I'm here. I'm interested in this topic, so I took a leave and I'm here. So my question is, I have went for a ground report in regard with the ILB. It was announced, very next day, when it was announced. So while during my visitation and my ground report, I have found that the administration and the police, they will check the documents, but they will see it and they will let it go. They don't have any QR system. How secure and how advanced the Nagaland state are. Secondly, when we talk about the technology, I remember once going through the internet, China, one of the developing nation, they have 1.4 billion population, as we know all that. So according to that documentary, once you enter into China territory by flight or by road or by water, they will start tracking you. They will start tracking the person if it is not from the China country itself. So technology can be used, but why our government are lagging behind in that and why they are taking in a very lame manner?
I think they have also touched upon why the government is not genuinely sincere on this issue, why they're not interested. I think they're touched, but if you want to add more, you can also supplement.
See, as far as these ILP issues are concerned, we just take a round of interview in and around Dimapur. People from outsiders, they also have no problem in implementing ILP. Now there are some few people, these Naga societies are also a small society. We are society. We as a Nagas, we are society, we depend on each other. We are social being. Here also non-locals. Now when we talk about ILP, somebody just call me up, random people, they call me up, Dada, amikita ILP itu permit to my lobo. They want to come and do it. And people who are doing business, they have no issue. They want to just, apply for ILP. But there are few individuals. There are few individuals who are controlling their own community. And these people are having problem. So there is intention behind. Now, it is not wise on our part, NSF and DNSU, to harshly give a comment to the government of Nagaland without knowing the true color. But likewise, the truth cannot be hidden forever. And we make sure that NSF and DNSU, we are very genuine. And I'm telling the truth. The central government or the government of Nagaland, we are under their observation, for sure. They are reporting back to the central also. We never know our phones are also tapped. Now, I am not trying to pinpoint anyone, but as a student leader, when I personally, experience this issue, sometimes I wonder. I am not questioning my predecessors, my seniors or elders, but why the issues get vanished in the midst? Why they don't consistently fight for it? And sometimes I wonder, and this maybe the central government or the government of Nagaland, whatsoever, the agencies have tried to approach the NSF and DNSC in many ways. And they came to know that these two organizations are very sincere. We cannot convince them, we cannot manipulate them, or we cannot offer them in any way. We need to listen to their voice. But also at the same time, after this regulation is read out, we find it a bit tricky. There is some doubtful among the student leaders. We are afraid that the ILP, instead of protecting us, it might be the other way also. So, but we make sure that we will not be fooled. We will continue to stand for the genuine cause of the Nagas. Yeah.
Yes. And this is one question. It might sound simple, but lots of intent. So one question is, how can we bring Nagas as one? Forget about our Sunni cause, but how can we bring all those as one and fight against this issue right now?
Well, thank you for the question. I think, according to my perspective, we need to be away from the pragmatic mindset that we have. Until we have this pragmatic mindset, we will not grow as an Naga. And to ensure that we are eradicating illegal immigrants, we should not adopt non-Nagas. We should not keep as a maid or as a servant in our homes. That would be the beginning that have to be implemented from the family itself. Every Naga has a responsibility towards the safety of Naga. So, as a Naga, we should be committed enough to safeguard our own citizens and our family also. So adoption should be stopped. That is the first thing a Naga family should do. Thank you.
Anyone, any question? Yeah, there is a, can someone pass him the mic?
My question is, how does illegal immigrations affect the security situation in Naga, and what are the implications for regional stability?
Security situation in
Can you
regional
please repeat the question?
stability.
Can you repeat again?
How does the illegal immigration affect the security situation in Naga, and what are the implications for
Regional stability. How does illegal immigration affect the security situation in Nagaland, and how the implication on the stability of the state or regional stability? Yeah.
If you remember, I think 20 years back, there was a series of bomb blasts in Hong Kong Market, Haji Park area. And these were carried out by suspected illegal immigrants. So it's a national security issue, no doubt. Immigration itself is a declaration of war against the Nagas, because it's a conspiracy being hatched somewhere else. They are not coming here just for the sake of coming. There's a conspiracy to dominate Nagaland, to replace the population. And what are the implications? If tomorrow a communal right breaks out in Dimapur, implications will be there in India against our people. You know what happened in Bangalore? So it's imperative that we take preemptive strike and do something right now so that such a situation does not arise in the near future. I mean, in this regard, I really support Himanda Biswa Sarma. Because, for whatever reasons, it may be political, it may be vote bank, whatever, but at least it's doing something. See, as Nagas, we have nothing against genuine Indian citizens. And they have been living amongst us since the 19th century. Some Maroris came to Nagaland in the 19th century. And they have led, Maroris and Bengalis, they have led to the establishment of Dimapur town with the help of the British, of course. And we have only gratitude for these people. But for those people with suspected identity and heritage who compromise most of the non-local population in Dimapur and Nagaland, I think we need to start something like Survival Nagaland, which happened in Mokchung. People say that if these people go away, Nagas say that if these people go away, we cannot survive. That's totally nonsense. The Aos, they survived. 2007, they started Survival Nagaland, started by a student body, and these people were kicked out, and the Aos, they began to work, manual work. They became coolies, and they have survived. If the Aos can survive, Nagas can survive, the rest of Nagas can survive. And I've heard many, many Nagas saying, if we, start checking all these illegal immigration and ILP defaulters, our children in India will be affected. This is pathetic. This is a pathetic argument. It's cowardly, and we totally condemn such, utterances. Nagas can survive. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, supplementing to that, ILP is a law, is some regulation given to the state of Nagaland. So if you use it, it's still constitutional. I think, having the doubt and apprehension that if we use it, we will become the target is not that productive to, it's not productive to take that road. Rather, we can think of how to implement this well constitutionally, and it's given to the state of Nagaland by the constitution itself, by the law, by the state. So I think we're sometimes so stupid in our dealing with the situations. We ask sometimes something that is illegal and that will go against the constitution, sacrificing your life, but we're not making use of what the constitution and what the law has given to us. I don't want to bring in certain examples, but because that will create a lot of tensions. Anyway, that's the simple observation that I'm trying to, convey. Any more question? Yeah, please, get the mic.
My question is, what mechanism need to put forward to solve this issue?
What mechanism do we need to put forward to resolve the ILB issue and illegal immigration or legal immigration overpowering the people of Nagaland?
Well, I will reiterate what I've stated, but as of now, we need a commission. The government needs a strong political will and needs to set up a commission to ensure that the safety of the Naga people is protected. So that is the only solution that we have now.
If we have to suggest the government of Nagaland about a mechanism, a proper mechanism to tackle such issues, I know what will be the response. They are going to say, just saying and putting into action is different. So I will rather not give suggestion in my point of view, but a mechanism, a system that was used by our neighboring state and which is successful. Yeah. And like Sir Pitonga have said, we need to set up a different commission for this, to tackle such issues. Like I have said, computerizing the ILP system to all the visitors coming to Nagaland, this QR code system, so that any village council, police, or student union can just scan that from their phone and check the validity of the ILP. It's very important, and it can be done. And the other thing is ILP SOP Mizoram has officially notified this ILPSOP to all the district across the state. Now in Nagaland, each district has their own ways and style of managing this ILP. But this ILPSOP can also standardize with a common database. And to check all the illegal immigrants who have applied for ILP and residing now in the state. The other thing is that was also done by the neighboring state and it is successful. Nah, that is not my personal view, but that is done by the neighboring state. And the third thing is the ILP should be linked to the police department CCNTS to check the criminal record history of the applicants and the guarantors. Now when we say CCNTS, it's a crime and criminal networking tracking and system. So such thing can be done. And not only that, this is the right time to implement the ILP, because last time all the CSOs came forward. They want to cooperate with the government of Nagaland. Now when the CSOs, different organizations came to cooperate with the government, it is easy. Just pass implement it and the CSOs will help you. The CSOs will, the council will stop issuing PRC. The town council will, stop issuing the trade license. No. If at all they are doing it, then we, the senior organization, will, come in, or it will be under our observation. So when the CSOs, when the public, this time, all of them, they want to come forward and support the government, why is government so afraid to implement it? That is the question. That is the question. Last time they have been saying, oh, we want to implement, oh, we did it, but the Nagas are the full one. It is the public that never cooperate. Now this time the public are coming forward. The CSOs are coming forward. They want to support it. They said they will cooperate. Just pass the laws. We will follow that. Why are they not implementing? Of course implementing, but on what reality they are implementing. So this is how the situation is right now. So a proper mechanism to tackle this issue, we can give out many suggestions that has been, system that has been used by our neighboring state, and the civil organization are there. So this is the thing, yeah.
Okay, let me also answer him. For those non-locals who came to the state before 1963, give them a different identity card. Identifying them as domiciled inhabitants of the state. And for those who came between 1963 and 1979, identify them separately. And for those people who came after 1979, as I said earlier, they are subject to the ILB regime, and so they should be identified separately. So in order to legitimize this set of things, the government needs to bring in legislation in the state assembly. That's number one. When you bring in a legislation in the state assembly, it will give more teeth to the ILP per se, to the ILP itself. So this legislation will define under what parameter the ILP regime should operate, so that when the student bodies and the civil society organizations or even the state police, they undertake activities, they are given legislative protection in order to check the non-locals residing within the state of Nagaland. And this will help in identifying ILP defaulters. And once they are identified, they can be deported. But they're going to be dumped in Karbi Anglong, by the way. Because once you dump them in Karbi Anglong, they always come back. So they have to be deported to their respective districts. And for that, a detention center has to be there. We should have detention centers for ILB violators and illegal migrants. And one very important thing, I believe the DCs of Dimapur, Chumukedima, and Niuland should be a Naga. I'm not questioning the competency of the IS officers from the mainland, and I have no bias against them. But these been very sensitive pockets, I believe, and Naga is better placed to understand the sentiments of the local people.
Those are very interesting points. I'm sure you are happy with the responses and all, like it's very in-depth I mean, drawing from their experience and drawing from their interaction with people. I think, as they all are part of the stakeholders for this issue. So I believe that government alone cannot draft a policy just at their own whims and fancies. They have to involve these stakeholders, work together, and pass it together, adopt the policy together. Because without that, it becomes like a sinister game plan, So it will take longer, and there will be, picks and fights here and there, and the progress will be really, really slowed down. So that is something people don't desire. People want swift action on a very pressing issues like ILB and immigration. But one thing we should all also know is that the future of the state, the future of the Naga people, lies or hangs on the ILB at this moment. But what if tomorrow the government of India abrogates the BEFR, which is the Bengal Eastern Frontier Regulation 1873. The government of India can just abrogate it, like this will not be applicable, it's unconstitutional as a fundamental right. I mean, in the constitution, we have a right to move anywhere in the country we want to, with an exception for ILB states, like Nagaland is one of them. So tomorrow, the government can declare that this is unconstitutional, ILB is unconstitutional, and it will not be applicable anymore. So Nagas have to think beyond ILB as well. So that's the point I'm trying to make, right? So I think we won't mind spending longer time, but like we all have our own responsibilities after this and that. So this is we're just trying to scratch the surface of ILB issue, and I'm sure and I believe, as I observe them, they have raised very, very pertinent points and issues on this matter. And I'm sure you all are satisfied with how they respond and how they have understood and analyzed the problem. And I believe that our online viewers will also enjoy the kind of points and thoughts that they have brought forward. And I believe this will also prick the government of Nagaland to take further action more seriously in line with the will of the people and desire of the people. I think, thank you so much for your points and thoughts that you have put across. And this will benefit the people at large, and as well as mostly the settlers of Dimapur in particular, because this Dimapur, as in Niuland and Chumukedima, and these 3 districts, because these are the most vulnerable areas at this moment when it comes to illegal immigration. People won't come from Mon area, people won't come from Mawakchung to enter Nagaland, I'm sure. People will enter from these 3 districts. And I think you have really shared a fantastic points of views, and which I personally have learned so much, to understand this problem. So thank you so much for coming, and thank you to the audience for coming. It's very few, I know, but really appreciate the fact that you really care for the state of Nagaland, or you really care for the welfare and well-being of the people and the future of the people of Nagaland. And you all are going to be the future. And that's why, ILB, we thought that we should make it a young people kind of event, because ILB is, illegal immigration is concerning the future of the young people. And when we talk about future, it's not about 60, 70 years old people got future. It's the future of yours and future of theirs and future of ours, because we're the younger generation, we're the millennials. So the future means it's about us, it's about you. It's not about the 70 years of politicians seated there in Kohima, right? They don't have future. They're just enjoying the present, and they have no more future anymore. So the future is yours and the future is ours. So thanks everyone, and congratulations to you all also, for making it through the session. So we look forward to having a more robust conversation like this even in the future, and we look forward to your support as well. Can't be more thankful and grateful to you all.